Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a fantastic afternoon. So, I am proud to make this announcement. I am excited to make this announcement. After an excruciating amount of time throughout my life, I have finally made a commitment to sit back and binge watch One Piece. And needless to say, I am a jobless civilian. I am free from a job. I don't have a job, which means I have nothing else better to do than to thoroughly watch One Piece. And boy, oh boy, I have been having the absolute time of my life. I have been enjoying myself because I have really been enjoying the show. One Piece has been absolute peak cinema, all of the above, if you ask me. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you guys who may come across this video may have watched the show and may not have been the most fond of it. However, I know that's your opinion, but my opinion stands. One Piece is phenomenal. Throughout my life, right, I'm going to reflect on my life. I have primarily been exposed to only 3 anime shows, including One Piece. So I'm adding One Piece to the repertoire throughout my life. But besides that, I've been exposed to Naruto, which, mind you, I've never really been the most invested in Naruto. There's been many times where I may have watched bits and pieces of it. I played the Naruto video games growing up, especially on the PlayStation 2. However, I've never really gotten into it as much as One Piece and the other anime that I'm about to mention, which is Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z, dare I say, is quite possibly my favorite show of all time. I know Dragon Ball Z from the back of my hand. I have rewatched that show an immeasurable amount of times, let alone Dragon Ball Super. I am extremely ecstatic for them to release the new Moral arc to expose myself to the brand new Chronicles Goku, Vegeta, everyone else who is relevant has to be exposed to. So I'm very excited about that. But I know I just started One Piece, but it's really growing on me. And I'm by all means, I am nowhere near finished with One Piece, not to mention, not even that. Like I mentioned previously, I just started watching the show and I'm already on episode 54. However, on Netflix, it states that One Piece has a total of 33 seasons. Mind you, I'm only on the first season, and I just mentioned I'm on episode 54 in one season. So I am nowhere near finished with the show, nor I do not even know when I will be finished with the show, or if it's even possible for me to finish the show within a timely manner. I'm probably going to be 30 years old, 35 years old, still trying to catch up and finish the entire show. But hey, I wouldn't trade it for nothing, because so far I am not disappointed, right? I want to talk about some of the characters. I want to talk about the main protagonist, Luffy. I feel as though whoever watched, or if you guys may not have watched One Piece but are mainly exposed and or involved in the anime realm, I feel as though you know who Luffy is, the guy with the straw hat. I'm gonna just tell you right now, he, as of right now, is my second favorite character. He's the type of person who just doesn't care. He is living life on absolute autopilot. He definitely cares about his friends and the integrity of a pirate in particular, but just in general, he's living his life on autopilot. And I've been thinking to myself, man, I want to live like him, because he is living life lavishly, and despite the many conundrums that he and his crew may face, he is just always going to be lighthearted. He's always going to have a smile on his face by any means necessary. And one of the main reasons as to why he doesn't care, right? The reason as to why I say this, mainly due to the circumstances of him inviting and or recruiting his now crewmates, that being Nami, Roronoa Zoro, Usopp, Sanji. That's it right now. But upon the initial meeting of Luffy and his crewmates, there were many moments where whether if it's Zoro, whether if it's Sanji, whatever the case may be, there were various moments where these characters, they were extremely reluctant to join Luffy's crew for their personal reasons, especially Sanji, right? On that boat, the restaurant boat, Sanji literally told Luffy to his face that he was dead set on not joining his crew. Like, he made up his mind and nothing was changing it. But Luffy said, too bad. Or he didn't say this verbatim, but this is basically along the lines of what he mentioned and what he alluded to. Luffy stated something like this: too bad. I hear you, but you're still going to be recruited to my crew, and there's nothing you could do. He was basically forcing Sanji to join his crew, despite how Sanji felt, because his crew needed a cook. Sanji was revealed to be a phenomenal cook as well as a fighter. He knows how to use them legs. So Luffy is that type of person, and I feel as though him being a person of that caliber as the protagonist is definitely very intriguing. Definitely my second favorite character. My favorite character of the show, hands down, Roronoa Zoro. His aesthetic and the way he carries himself is something that I'm fond of. It's something that I gravitate towards throughout the show. He gives off that nonchalant, I would say, essence. I mean, there's many times where he is extremely flabbergasted, but I'm pretty sure if you guys know or if you guys watch the show, you guys may be aware of what I'm referring to. And just his style of, like, his fighting style, his knack for being able to use 3 swords at once, one sword in one hand, another sword in the other hand, the third sword being in his mouth. And he's been straight up dominating his opponents for the most part, because there's been many moments where he has been involved in some debacles and dilemmas and he fell short, such as the time where he participated in a brief skirmish against Hawkeye Mihawk, which, mind you, Hawkeye Mihawk is a character that I really want to know more about, because obviously I'm assuming later in the show we're going to be revealed to the deeper lore behind his character. But so far me personally, I've only seen him once, and that was in the restaurant, and the other time was when he met up with Shanks, Luffy's longtime friend, or whatever the case may be. So I'm intrigued to learn and discover more about Hawkeye. But Zoro losing that fight, really, like, I feel as though that was a humbling experience for him, and that's a scenario of which he's gonna view that as something that he's going to rebound from and bounce back from. So the next time they end up meeting and fighting, possibly, Zoro will more than likely learn from his experience, learn from his mistakes, and eclipse the essence of Hawkeye, if that makes sense. But as well as Zoro's backstory is extremely intriguing as well. Essentially, what was her name? Basically, when Zoro was growing up, he was involved in a dojo, and he had a rival. I believe her name was Quima. I forgot her name. I forgot how to pronounce her name. I forgot her name, but I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Essentially, Zoro's rival and friend ends up passing away, and he wants to fulfill the prophecy attached to his friend to become an everlasting swordsman, right? And I feel as though that is extremely interesting. And like I said, his aesthetic, his arc, the way he moves, something that really entices me. Everything about him is contention as to why he's by far my favorite character. And then Nami, if I'm being honest, I mean, she has her moments, but don't really care for her as much as the other characters. But I will tell you this, her backstory is extremely brutal, and I know there's other characters, Sanji, Usopp, however, I don't really care to mention them that much. But I'm gonna use this as a segue to talk about some of the villains. So some of the villains. Buggy the Clown, I'm telling you right now, I cannot stand Buggy the Clown. I can Buggy the Clown is annoying. That's just my personal opinion. You guys may be fond of Buggy the Clown, but I can't stand him. You have the other villain, Don Krieg is a tank. Don Krieg, man, he was ruthless, absolutely ruthless. However, in my personal opinion, I don't think the enemies that I've been exposed to so far has even come close to the amount of ruthlessness that is Orlong. Orlong is, man, the way he did Nami City, I forgot the exact name of the city verbatim, but the way he did Nami City throughout her childhood, absolutely diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. He essentially infiltrated the city and literally stepped foot in the vicinity of the residents and literally told them, this is my city now. If you guys want your life, if you guys want to live, you're gonna have to pay me a specific amount of berries. If you are unable to fulfill that price, you are dead on the spot. So the residents, they ended up paying up. They ended up paying their end of the bargain. However, the only person that was unable to pay her share was Nami's and her sister's mother, Bellinaire. I think that's her name, Bellinaire. So when it was revealed that and mind you, she was unable to pay that price because she was extremely unfortunate. She didn't have it like that. So upon Orlong discovering that she wasn't able to pay her share, he didn't waste no time. Ended up taking her life in front of Nami, in front of the residents, everybody. So essentially, Orlong and his crew infiltrated that island, that city, that village, and reverted the entire culture, the demographic, strictly tailored to his personal ideology and rebranded it into Orlong Park. Nami essentially made a crucial sacrifice to join forces with Orlong and the rest of the fishmen. So I forgot exactly how it went. I'm trying to think. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Nami joined forces with Orlong and his crew, not only to be like the navigator and to draw him maps of the world, but as well as he instructed Nami that he was willing to spare the lives of every resident present in the village only if she was able to accumulate 100 million berries. So Nami accepted that because she thought that was the only way out of the captivity that was her and the residents surrounding her, initiated by Orlong himself. So throughout the years, this is why. So initially, I was confused as to why Nami was so extremely motivated to be a thief, but that explains as to why she was stealing from pirates, because she wanted to discover treasure feasible enough to accumulate the amount of money that Orlong was requesting. So leading up to that arc, right, where Nami stole the ship from Luffy and them, and then after the fight with Luffy and Don Krieg, they ended up following Nami to the island. So right, Nami was, I believe, 7 million berries short, so she was extremely close. It was then revealed that Orlong was in alliance with the Marines, and essentially Orlong instructed the Marines to steal the amount of money that Nami accumulated to make it seem as though, okay, the Marines are stealing her money, so now she's going to be high and dry, and now she's going to have to accumulate that amount of money again. But that was solely to ensure Nami's alliance with the fishmen remains paramount and stabilizes for the foreseeable future, because to all along, Nami is an extremely valuable casualty because she has a talent of drawing maps, right? So if Nami were to accumulate 100 million berries to fulfill all along's request, the promise was to disband that alliance between him and Nami and to just leave the island. But no, All Along had other plans. He deemed Nami extremely valuable to the point where he did not want her going anywhere. So that's why he initiated that loophole. Nami confronted him about it, and All Along did not care. All Along is truly a messed up human being. Truly. Like, the way he manipulated that circumstance in his favor was extremely, that was diabolical. But I will say, from the villain point of view, All Along so far is definitely my favorite villain. Definitely. Has all the qualities and tangibles of being that ruthless, not even having the care of the world type of villain to fulfill his selfish agenda. That is what makes a villain extremely memorable. And then there's also that other villain. I forgot his name, the dude with the cat claws. He was extremely ruthless as well. He was essentially serving as a butler for Kaya, and this translated to him and Kaya developing a sincere bond with one another throughout her childhood, only to find out that that childhood meant absolutely nothing, because the dude with the cat claws, right? He was a pirate all that time, and he was only serving as the butler to steal Kaya's inheritance. So he was only inheriting and maintaining that facade strictly to steal her money. They had a nice, loving bond, and that meant absolutely nothing. That was absolutely ruthless as well. But I don't think, so far, I don't really think any villain comes close to All Along for me. So right now, he's my favorite villain. I'm currently on episode 54, I believe, where they left the island and they are now escorting themselves to the Grand Line finally, with Bucky the Clown and the other villains following them there, the smoke guy. So I'm actually on that episode right now, and I'm intrigued to see how the events in the Grand Line unfolds. So, more of the story, I'm really, really enjoying this show, and I'm excited to watch some more, for lack of better terms. So, probably many things that I could have mentioned as well that I can't even think of. However, I'm going to use that as a sign to end this video. That is all I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed my ramble session about One Piece. If you guys haven't watched the show yet, I highly recommend it if you are a huge anime head. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.